are these people?
Well, hello there, Space Monkeys. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. This is an INN exclusive where I'm going to be stark raving Rob for about 5 to 10 minutes. And we're going to talk about today something I saw on Russell Brand's show that is a horrifying yet somewhat hopeful number. It said that about 44% of people in the United States think there's going to be a civil war, like soon. Now, why is that hopeful? I'm going to explain to you why. It means that there's revolutionary energy in the air. It's just being misdirected towards a civil war. And what I'd like to argue in this segment is that if we have a civil war where a whole bunch of poor people turn on each other over culture issues like gun rights, for instance, the elites will win. But we have a choice, and I'm going to make the argument here that we just have a revolution instead. So the premise behind this is basically like people are so angsty and they feel like the government isn't going to help them anytime soon at all. And I happen to feel that way too. So about half of Americans are basically like, yeah, there's something's going to give. It's going to be some sort of war. It's going to be literal people turning on each other, and there will be deaths. It's going to be battle. And I understand that sentiment and I understand that feeling because I think something is coming too. I don't think it's going to be a war, and I hope you guys can understand that it should not be a civil war. It should be a revolution. And we have to decide for ourselves what exactly we're willing to fight for and who our actual opponents are. One of these things is the thing that the elites want us to do. Which one? That's civil war. If we go to a civil war where a whole bunch of laborers and working class people and poor people go after each other, the elites still get to run out the back door with all the money, and the weapons manufacturers will make a ton. They'll make a ton of money off of our fighting amongst ourselves over some trivial culture war shit, and nothing will actually change, and this country will plunge into chaos, and you'll have people, neighbor turning on neighbor. How very Jesus-like of us. The other option actually will solve our problems, and I hope we can reframe to understand that our opponent is not the Republican or Democrat who's against me, who's in the house next door to me. The opponent is the elites. The opponent is the oppressing class that own all of the land and all of the money and all the capital, the capitalists. So if we can understand that, I think we can turn this energy and this anger into something useful that'll actually solve all of our problems. Because a lot of the things that working class people want, and I talk to them a lot, they all kind of want the same things, and it's not really partisan. We all can basically agree that if we want to fight this war, if we fight it over something like a living wage, everybody has the right to, housing, health care. Everybody wants their kids to go to a good school. And believe it or not, whether you guys like it or not, I find across the aisle, if you're a poor person, you tend to be like, don't touch my guns. Poor people understand that, like, they're in danger from, like, the police, from, gang violence, because they have to live in places that have accumulated a bunch of crime. You don't want your guns taken away from you if you're a poor person, regardless of which side, lefties included, myself included. I'm pro-gun and I'm a Marxist. So most poor people agree on those things. So if we can all, like, realize that those are the things we should be fighting for, and that our opponents are the elite oppressing class who is not giving us those things, we can take this energy and turn it into something useful. A multi-generational revolution that gets us what we want, whether it be by, forcing politicians to do what we want, removing politicians, rioting, and eventually, if they don't give us something and we try everything else, it'll be violent revolution. If we can actually just reframe, understand who our opponent is, and not do civil war, but instead do revolution, we can actually get something done. But as it turns out, a lot of people, like over 4 in 10, almost 5 out of 10 people, that's half for a lot of you, or a lot of my viewers out there, they think we're headed toward a civil war. I think that's a shame, because I would rather all of that useful energy, which I see in the masses right now, be put towards something better than that. And we are better than that. Don't turn on your neighbor. That's the 8th rule. Can't turn on your neighbor. Understand that if somebody's fighting the culture war and they are next to you, you can educate them. they're just watching too much television. They just need somebody like you to come in and let them know who the real enemy is and how things really work in this country and how they've been duped. They've been duped into thinking that the problem is somebody who lives down the street from them, and they turn on their communities because someone happens to be the opposite party that they are. You're wrong on who your opponent is. Love your neighbor. Hate politicians. Hate the elites. If we can do that, we will not have a civil war. We will, in fact, have a revolution. And I think that's what we should do. And I think it is inevitably coming. But you're right. It could end up being a civil war. If the civil war happens where a whole bunch of laborers turn against each other, it means the elites and the propagandists who run interference for and help the elites win. Don't let them win. We can win. Just don't do a civil war. Let's do some sort of revolution, shall we? Anyway, keep fighting that good fight out there. Let me know what you think. But that's a lot of people. I did not know that 44% of people were thinking we're going to have a civil war. And like I said, that's horrifying. But it makes me hopeful. Because if we can convince just those people who are like feeling that there's something coming, like we're coming to a breaking point, we're being pushed to the brink as the proletariat, means the organized poor. That's a lot of people who are willing to, I think, take out their anger on the real enemy, which is just the corporations, the elitists who keep us enslaved and fighting amongst each other while they run out the back door with all the fucking money. Keep fighting that good fight out there, guys. I'll talk to you later.